let's go ahead and dive in. If you have been watching me for any amount of time, I'm going to say 2023 and beyond are past. I started my channel in 2022. So 2022, did I start my channel in 2022? I did, 2022. In the past, I would do these haul videos, these book hauls, and man, I would post them like a few times a year. And I would have a ton of books, like 20 plus books per year. Sorry, per video, multiple times, like 3 to 4 times a year. That's a lot of books. On my channel this year, or for 2024 rather, I hadn't hauled anything because I'm going to do one haul, and this is this video. It's all the books I purchased in 2024, and it's only 20 something books. I get that that's still a decent number, but for me, that is me really cutting back. Because what I'm about to show you guys that I purchased this year is what I would do in one video out of like the 3 to 4 that I would knock out in a year. I really focused on reading from my shelves more than anything in 2024. And even some of these books that I've hauled, I've read some of them or started some of them. Some of them I've finished and read already. Others I've started. And some of them I plan to read in 2025. In no particular order. Let's go ahead and jump in. I'm not going to go through synopses or anything like that. I hope not. Sometimes I say I'm not going to do that and I do it anyway. But let's go ahead on and jump in because I want to knock this out. I don't really have much to say about these books. The ones that I've already read, reviews coming. I have already, as of me recording this, I've already recorded the review for this. Alice at the Fire. Here. Ain't nothing like wearing contacts and then getting poked in the eye with a hair. Like it hurts. Alice at the Fire by Jan Fosse. Ooh, I've already read this. You can tell I've already reviewed it. Review is coming. It's already posted on Instagram, but the video review is coming in January later. I really, really enjoyed this. This is my introduction to this author, this Norwegian author, Jan Fosse, and I plan to hopefully read more of him in 2025. I really want to read Septology and his other short novels. Septology is massive. This is a novella. You could consider Morning and Evening a novella as well. It's just around 100 pages. So I would like to read those, but we'll see. I'm not going to buy them until I'm sure I'm actually going to be able to read them in 2025, if that's what I'm able to do. Because I've got some chunkers planned for 2025. But Alice at the Fire, I purchased that this year, shipped from the UK. Thank you, Blackwells. And don't worry, I pay for it myself. When it comes to Fitzcarraldo editions, they've just got the best prices. So I purchased that this year and I read it this year. Another one I purchased and read this year, it's the only manga that I read anymore. I was a big manga head, okay, when I was a teenager, is Kazuya Volume 32. I've been reading the series since I was 15 years old, and we're still getting volumes released. It is finished in Japan. It's been done. I think there's 40-something volumes. It is like a Japanese Mulan, if you will, where you have this young female main character who goes undercover to avenge the death of her father and her brother. So she joins the Shinsengumi, and the Shinsengumi this is during the Meiji era in Japan, but soon the samurai life will be no longer in Japan. It is you could call it's a historical romance, but it's not super, super heavy on the romance, even though the relationship he knows that she is female. The relationship between these two characters, it develops very, very slowly. The author, Taeko Watanabe, does a fantastic job with the historical context of this, and so you still get this rich historical history of the Shinsengumi and what's happening in Japan at this time with samurai and the political environment, and it's really funny. I actually enjoy it more as an adult than I did as a teenager because when I was younger, a lot of the political stuff went right over my head. But again, I purchased that this year and read it. As of me recording this video and it being posted, I would have already, the bookmark fell out. I would have already started and finished this book. Ooh, I don't know how to pronounce the author's last name. The Employees by Olga Ravin. Translated from the Danish. And I've had my eyes on this book for a while, just because I am kind of into themes in books about our current work environments and the existential crises that we kind of experience, especially just in the routine of work, and what work culture is like these days. This is a bit of a sci-fi, but I will say this, as of the recording of this book, or this video, I haven't started it yet, but by the time this video goes live, I would have finished it. It's a slim volume. One thing I'm doing these days is after I finish a big book, I'm going to read a really small, thin book or like a novella to get some of these shorter books off my TBR list, my physical TBR. So I would have started that right after finishing East of Eden, but before starting The Idiot by Dostoevsky. Oh no. And by say, oh no, I am not going to be able to pronounce this Polish author's name because I haven't looked it up yet on how to pronounce it. And I did look it up when I first purchased the book, but couldn't find it. The Possessed by... This, is like Gothic Polish narrative. It's slightly comedic from what I've heard. It was published, I want to say, in the 1930s. Of course, translated from the Polish. You're going to see a theme here with a lot of these books that I purchased. A lot of Eastern European lit. German lit, Nordic lit, Danish perhaps. Nordic lit coming because Jan Fosse is my jam these days. When was this first published? Why did I think the 1930s? Or is the story taking place in the 1930s? Some lighter. Anyway, you've got a Gothic home and you've got some interesting relationships between some of these characters. You've got this young tennis coach who's going to this bougie house, but it's a Gothic haunted bougie house, and he's going to be, training, or, I guess you could say coaching. Yeah, training the daughter. And so again, I haven't read this obviously, so I don't know. I read the synopsis and I was like, I want to read. I want to read. So I snagged it. It just seemed right up my alley. I also can't resist a Fitzcarraldo edition. So speaking of another Fitz, Insane by Reinhold Goetz. I think I pronounced that correctly, translated from the German. This is a story about madness. I cannot resist a story about madness in institutions and asylums. So I've heard this is a dense work, but it's a novel about a psychiatrist who goes into... He's a psychiatrist, and he has several patients who are at a mental institution. And through his studies, he ends up going insane himself. And it has questions about what is insanity, who gets to determine that insanity. Really cool. Look at this graphic. Yeah. I love stories about insanity. Who gets to determine what is insane, who is mad and who isn't. Again, you're going to notice a theme here with the books that I picked up in 2024, with the region of the world these books are coming from, the regions. I have 2 novels by Vigdis Hjorth. Where's she from? Yes. She's also Norwegian. I couldn't remember. I was like, she's Norwegian. Yeah, she's Norwegian as well. Vigdis Hjorth. So, Is Mother Dead? And If Only. I picked this book up when I was in LA in 2024, and I picked this one up, If Only, when I was in Durham, North Carolina. Some of these books I definitely picked up when I was away on a travel or something like that. I don't like to buy souvenirs like mugs and stuff like that. I prefer to either buy a book and I'll keep the receipt in the book as a kind of like a memento. Like, oh yeah, I picked this book up on a trip. I'm not into buying like clothes and stuff like that when I'm somewhere new, or maybe somewhere that's out of town where I don't live, but I pick up books as mementos. Christmas ornaments too, if I can find a good one I like, because they're easy to travel with. But I'm really fascinated by her. I watched a couple of interviews with her, and she fascinates me. Also, I have noticed this with what I've noticed thus far, I think, with Danish authors, Dutch authors, Norwegian authors, German authors, Polish, etc. There's a bluntness to them. there's a certain type of directness that I just personally really appreciate. And so that's why I've been gravitating towards this region of literature, these regions of literature rather, if you will. So I'm excited about this woman, and I hope to read both of these next year in 2025 if I can. It's already 2025, but by the posting of this. Dr. Zhivago. Ooh. This is on the to read list for 2025. I am buddy reading this with my friend Joanne. We buddy read every year. Actually, this year we're buddy reading 2 books together. 2 big chonkers, and one of them is Dr. Zhivago. I've been wanting to read this book for a long time, so it's finally time. We're reading this starting in February, and we're just going to let the book dictate the pace. This is not a short book, my edition being about 500 pages long, but Dr. Zhivago, really excited about that. So this was in the haul because I am reading that in February. Ooh, and this is the other buddy read for Joanne and I. The Books of Jakob by Olga. I can never remember how to pronounce her last name. I'm going to learn it. I hear it, I'm like, yeah, that's how I pronounce it. But then it leaves me. Books of Jakob. This is a doorstopper. We are reading this. We are going to read, this thing is huge. We are going to read this starting in June. And again, we're going to let the book dictate the pace. But went on and snagged this sucker. Of course, I had to get the Fitzcarraldo edition. I cannot resist this blue. Deborah Levy. This trilogy. I decided to pick this up. Nonfiction. Things I don't want to know. The cost of living. And real estate. It's been getting a little bit more difficult to find. They're redoing these covers, and I don't like the new covers. So I was like, I've been curious about this for a while. I've watched some interviews with her, and she fascinates me. So her writing is very simple but poignant. And so again, I've been sandwiching thicker. I like to read really long books. Those are really my jam. The doorstoppers are my jam. So between a doorstopper, I want to squeeze in slimmer volumes. And so for these books in particular, the font is huge. Okay? This is like the font size of the books that I was reading when I was 8 years old. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with it because I feel like I can read something and read it quickly. But I want to knock out slimmer volumes to get them off my shelf. But I've been curious about this for a long time. And when I saw that these covers are getting harder to find, I was like, let me get them now because I don't like the other covers. So, and I got them. All of these are actually secondhand. I ordered them secondhand. I picked up spring and summer 2024 of the Paris Review because I kind of wanted to start dabbling with the Paris Review. I started the spring 2024 and I just stopped reading it. Nothing wrong with it. Again, it's just my reading in 2024 slowed down. So, I'm not writing the Paris Review off. I wish I could indulge in this a little bit more, but my reading has just slowed down. So I'm going to keep those on my shelf. But still, there's a short story that somebody raved about in the winter 2024 Paris Review. And I'm like, I feel like I need to catch up. I'm going to go at my own pace. I still plan to read this. But one reason why I decided to also try the Paris Review is because it's just different formats and styles of lit. So I'm not a big poetry reader at all, but there is poetry in here, but also mainly for the short stories and author interviews. But I did get those this year and I just can't resist. I mean, the covers are fantastic, right? But I'm not going to purchase any more Paris Reviews until I get these out of the way. The last Fitzcarraldo of this haul, Rambo by Esther Kinsky. I'm a big Esther Kinsky fan. She's a German author. I think that she is underread. She is a beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous writer. As of the recording of this video, I'm still making my way slowly but surely through her novel River. I've read Grove and I have a review on that. And Rambo is her most recent retranslated novel in English. And it takes place in Italy in 1976 after an earthquake and the impact that this earthquake had on the residents in this area. She is such a lyrical, poetic novelist. I cannot recommend Esther Kinsky enough if you like beautiful prose. One I started, and I'm just picking at it as I feel, like Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. I'm not very far in, but when I just want to read a little nugget of wisdom, stoic thought, I keep this on my nightstand. I'll just pluck through it. Because you could read one little excerpt of this, one little paragraph, and be thinking about that thing for days. But I did pick this up. I picked this up, on one of my little trips this year. So at a little local bookstore. Rainbow by Yasunari Kawabata. He is no longer living, but he is a well-known Japanese author who's new to me. And so I saw this in a slimmer volume. This edition is just over 200 pages long, but there's not as many words per page. So I hope to get to this book in 2025. I love Japanese literature, and people rave about this guy. Okay, so I decided to have the Rainbow be my introduction to this Japanese author. So I picked that up in 2024, hope to read it in 2025. My 2025 plans, which I will do a video on, are loose, okay? But I'm going with the flow. I do have some books set in stone, but the rest I'm winging it. But I'll get to that in a different video. I'm coming down to the end of it. Committed by Suzanne Scanlon, excuse me. I picked this up also while I was in LA. Again, this is a memoir, but it's a memoir about madness. The author herself was institutionalized. And again, that's just one of my favorite themes to read about. So I picked up that. English. My tower of books fell over. The International Booker Prize winner for 2024, Kairos. I don't care about awards. You can tell I'm not a channel that goes over awards or what's currently in the short list, the long list, whatever. And I didn't pick up this book because it won the Booker Prize. I picked up this book because I'd seen so many divisive reviews on it. But for me personally, it's interesting to me what this book is covering. Also, Kairos. I guess I kind of also picked up this book because the meaning of the word Kairos. And I have yet to see anybody review the book from the perspective of what Kairos actually means. From the reviews I've seen, no one has dived into what the meaning of Kairos is. There is the Greek version. It's a Greek word meaning it's about time, but the Kairos timing, it's when there isn't a perfect time for something to happen. It's a set time. It's a perfect time. You may not know the chronos time of it, the time that we look at when we're looking at a clock or a watch, but there is a set time for something that is ordained to happen. It's going to happen. Kairos is a word that's used a lot in the Christian world when it's God's perfect time for something to happen. You can try all you can to make something happen. When if God says it's not time for the thing to happen yet, it's not going to happen. He knows the perfect time. So, and that's a concept I've been thinking about a lot over the past year. And so that's why I picked up this book selfishly. This is a book I don't really hear anybody talking about, but it personally is interesting to me. Post-Traumatic by Chantel V. Johnson. I watched an interview of this author. She is also an attorney, and she was just funny. So there was something about her that was dryly funny, and she talked about how humor is really her favorite device to use. And she, there's a lot of talk about identity in this book, but also how you can look at yourself as a woman of color, a man, a white man, a black man, whatever, but how we have these identity markers that society puts on us, whether you agree with it or not, political identity, whatever, and how she said something that really stuck out to me. She's like, this character, the main character, sometimes she's wrong. You know, just because that's how you think people are viewing you, that doesn't mean that's what's happening. So, again, she, in this story, in this novel in particular, we have a lawyer who advocates for mentally ill patients. And so again, we're dealing with mental institutions here in the New York City Psychiatric Hospital. And again, I like stories about madness and institutions. So I don't know, there was just something about the way the interview went with this author that intrigued me. And so I hope I get on with this story. Bluets by Maggie Nelson. I know that this book is like TikTok famous or something. I didn't know that until I already was interested in the book before I knew that. I don't know, TikTok, spare me. But Bluets, these little philosophical excerpts surrounding the color blue as well. And I just think that sounds cool. And I've been intrigued by this for a while. And so I picked this up in Durham, North Carolina on a trip. And again, this is one of those slim little volumes, less than 100 pages long, that I'll sandwich in between some of my chunkier reads. The last 4 books in this haul I've already read. Gifted by Suzumi Suzuki. This was published in English in October of 2024. And again, I love Japanese lit. Again, very, very short. I sandwiched this in between reading Lonesome Dove and East of Eden. I knocked this out in like a few sittings. And I will have a review on this because I finished it. Review coming soon, in a few weeks. Give me some weeks. But we have a mother-daughter relationship narrated from the perspective of the daughter. Both of them had to use their bodies to make a living, but in typical Japanese fashion. And actually, Suzuki has worked in the adult entertainment industry before she became an author. And in true Japanese fashion, Suzuki is blunt, but she doesn't go into the gory details because she doesn't need to. It's not about that. So it's still tastefully done, and it's discussions on the body, particularly in Japan, and what is a body's worth? Where does that come from? Can you put a price on a body? But also, mother-daughter relationships are really at the core of this. There's a strained relationship between the mother and the daughter. The narrator is unnamed, and her mother was abusive to her. I really liked this story. I can't wait to review it. Again, little, but a lot to talk about. I reviewed this book in 2024. It was a top read for many in 2024. It was one of the top releases of 2024. I just personally didn't like it. Coco Meller's Blue Sister, excuse me. I have a whole review on this. I liked Coco Meller's debut. This one didn't do it for me, but I'm keeping it around because I wanted to include it in this haul because I did purchase it this year. I did read it this year. I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. I will be unhauling this actually, and I will be doing a video later sometime in 2025 with another unhaul. I did an unhaul in 2024, but I read it. I purchased it in 2024. Here's its shout out. To not end on a low note, I'll save the last book for last because I want to end on a positive note. That was word salad. Meg Howry's They're Gonna Love You, another book that I purchased in 2024, read in 2024, didn't like it in 2024, but there's a review live on this too. It just wasn't for me. It's hard to find a ballet narrative, I think, that isn't cliche or cringy. Can somebody please write a ballet novel that isn't cringy? This was cringy for me in a lot of ways. It needed a lot of editing in my opinion, and it was a little too preachy for me in a lot of ways. But anyway, you win some, you lose some. And this time I didn't like it. So I will be unhauling this as well. But a book I enjoyed, The Temple of Fortuna by Elodie Harper, historical fiction. I bought it in 2024 again in May on one of my little excursions. And I read it this summer. And it is the last installment of the Wolfden trilogy, I was leaning a certain way, so it made things look extra crooked. Ancient Roman historical fiction. Much fun. I really enjoyed it. And I have a review on that as well. Those are all of the books I purchased in 2024. I hope to purchase even less books in 2025. If I do purchase anything, it'll be, again, books that I know without a shadow of a doubt I'm going to eventually read, but getting closer to, I planned it again. read a lot of what I purchased. I mean, I didn't read all of these, but I definitely read a good handful of them. If I purchase any books for 2025, I know that the third installment of the Neapolitan Quartet by Elena Ferrante is on that list because I do want to read that in 2025. Septology by Jan Fosse. White Nights by Dostoevsky, a short little novella. I want to read that. But anyway, I'm not really thinking about buying a whole lot of books in 2025. And I will say that in 2024, I unhauled way more than I purchased, and I'm proud of that. I am. Anyway, have you reduced, increased, or stayed the same with your book purchasing recently? Please let me know. Subscribe, and leave me a comment. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram where I get up to more book shenanigans. I post all of my book content there first, and I'm looking down at my books. And the occasional goofy reel or meme in the Instagram stories. And with that, I am going to sign out because I have one more video to record and it's 2:00 p.m. and I have not eaten lunch.